Welcome back to our Mastery Tips and Tricks show. I am so grateful and happy to be here with you guys. I'm Heatherly Chapman, your host and holistic transformation coach. And it is January 16th, and this is our first podcast episode of the year. And I'm so grateful to be here to inspire all of you to really connect to the power of creativity. So we have a special guest, Sophia Jackson, today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, Heather. Thank you for having me.
I'm absolutely grateful to have you here. Please tell us more about yourself.
Like you said, my name is Sophia Jackson. I also go by SoJay. I am the author and creator of the Soulful Color coloring books, and also have an organization of the same name, Soulful Color. So we create affirmation coloring books for all ages that highlight cultural diversity.
I love that. And what inspired you to get into this?
Actually, I went back to school as a mature student, very mature student. Shh, I'll tell you how old I am. And I wanted to get honors. I'm like, this is my second at bat for college, and to become a child and youth counselor, I'm going to be impacting lives, young people, families. I needed to get honors, right? So as close to 100% as possible. That was my goal. And I stressed myself out. It was, I put a high bar for myself, and I wanted to achieve it, and I needed something to calm myself, my stress, my anxiety in between exams, group work, all of the things that comes with going back to school as an adult. And then I started coloring as a self-care practice. Um, and I started to search for coloring pages that reflected me as a woman of color. And I would literally Google Black coloring pages and things like that, and couldn't find anything that really resonated with me, that had some swag, that that I really liked. And so I said, you know what? I think I want to create a coloring book with some affirmations, because that taps into my creative side from a lyrical music and poetry. Um, I have that in in my toolkit. So words, positive messages, and then the original illustrations, that I'm like, let me create something, because I didn't really see anything that resembled that.
I love it.
Yeah. And that was the beginning of Soulful Color.
I love it. So during your stressful times, you were like, hey, we all need a creative break, which we were talking about before, like a good cognitive break, a creative break. And you started introducing coloring. And I love how you're using positive affirmations with it because we know how important language is. Spelling is like casting a spell because the
Mm-hmm.
words we choose to describe our reality has a physiological response in our body, but also has a frequency and connects with the quantum field, the net. And that is creating energy and an energy impulse. So we do attract back what we speak out into the world. And
Absolutely.
so we were talking about the first time when we connected pre the podcast, how important language is. And I love that that's part of it. And we connected in the forum where I was saying how cool it is what you're doing. I had just been coloring the night before because I realized I needed a timeout, but didn't want to watch TV.
Right.
So I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I was like, you have all these coloring books. You love to draw and be color and be creative. Like tap into that feminine creativity, that creative energy, and absolutely love it. And I love that you're creating it so it is inclusive
Mm.
because we are European, and so some of our family has a little bit of darker skin. And my niece was probably about 5 or 6 at the time, and I remember her bringing the coloring book to me and going, "But I'm not white. Like, what do I color?" Like,
Right.
and asking me, and I thought her brother's like pasty white and British, and like so they have a different skin colors, and she was like, there's quite a contrast between the two, and
Right.
so it's not talked about, but it is consciously aware, even to a 5-year-old.
Right away. Like that's the first experience that I had, was when I was teaching in a kindergarten classroom, and I had to a young girl from Nigeria, and she was upset, crying. She came to me, Miss Jackson. She said she doesn't want to she doesn't want to play with me because of the color of my skin. And this was a Southeast Asian 4-year-old, 5-year-old saying that to a Nigerian 4-year-old, 5-year-old. So that the difference in skin tones is just a few hues, a few hues. And so I was like, that's mind blowing. So it starts very young, that awareness, and that awareness of the differences, and also the awareness of the negative connotations associated with those differences in our social constructs of living. And there's so many powerful things that you've touched on when you spoke about the power of words. I'll dive it down to just the power of words because you broke it down so nicely. The power of words and the power of positive self-talk, and what that can manifest for you, and recognizing that it's a real thing
Yes.
on a spiritual level, on a psychological level, on a physiological level. I know you'll know about this, the reticular activation system, RAS, and that ties into why it's so important to be mindful of your words and your thoughts, and the power of what's that called? Attraction.
Yes, and I love that you touched on the RA. So, guys, you have something in your brain that works like a filter, and whatever you're focused on, it filters the information to show you what you're focused on. So, if you haven't done the basketball awareness test, it's about a 1 minute exercise. It's a perception exercise that we did in our perceptual motor development class in university. And they ask you to count the passes between the white team and the black team. So you're counting the basketball passes, and everyone's like 11, 12, 10, 13. And then it goes, but hang on a second. Did you see the person in the moon walking bear? So there's a human being in a bear costume moonwalking through the basketball game, and you see it with your eyes, but it gets filtered. And so cognitively, your brain goes, that's not what they're focused on. So we won't tell them about it. And I even showed it to my brother one time. He went, no, the bear wasn't there the first time. And he rewound it. And then he was literally flabbergasted. So that's how important where our focus is. So literally, language, our focus, our energy, so important, and then tapping into that creativity. So let's dive into the tips. What does debunking the power of creativity mean to you?
It means that people, when I tell people that I'm a creative, they're like, yeah, I'm not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. And they associate creativity with the arts, singing, dancing, or visual arts, like this overt creativity. And
Mm.
what I want to share and let everybody know here today, Heather, but then in general, is that everybody is creative because we're human, and our creativity is connected to our humanity. It's actually what helps to make us human, is that we have these creative
Yeah.
energies and outputs that are part of our being. Like, it's what like makes us human beings, is our creativity. And that's also what makes us unique, is because we as human beings express our creativity individually in different ways. So
Mm.
when somebody is like a mathematician, it seems so obvious that there's creativity in math, because math is utilized to do so many amazing things, right? And if somebody's a construction worker, like, oh, okay, he's a dude, burly, and I lay cement. There's no creativity. No, absolutely, there's creativity in that, and being very, mindful of the intricacies that are involved in doing a job like that. There's creativity there too. So I feel like it's very challenging to find somebody who actually does not have a creative bone in their body. So that's debunking that right there. I hope I've done it.
Yeah. I think your first statement was so true, right? Like you don't see any lions creating any architecture or anything like that. That is, as human, what separates us. And there's a saying that God gave you your imagination to create,
To create, exactly.
and
and
we
and
have that.
and some would even say that that is the presence of a divine, of God and divinity, is that he, it, the universe, depends
She,
on
God's a girl. No, I'm just kidding.
she, and their divinity, that's how they speak to you, and that's how you receive a vision for what your life should be, that you will imagine your future, or what you want in life, and that's a way that you're being spoken to and showing your place in the universe.
Yeah, and I love that. And that leads so perfect into the next tip, which is connect that creativity to humanity. What makes us different? We're all creative. And if you think about it, everyone has a different way they can be creative, is what you were saying. And so
Yes.
ask yourself, like, I remember my sister took up knitting, and she, like, that was her thing. I like to dance, and then I actually really like to color, so I picked up coloring. But it is what makes us different, and everyone can reach for something of themselves for that. So let's talk a little bit more about, like, why take a cognitive or creative break.
Well, we touched on it a little bit,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the reason why I created the book was because I needed to take a break away from the stress of doing the work that was in my program. And I needed something to almost distract me. But then understanding that while I'm distracted from what I'm doing, that my brain's still working in the background, right? And so that while your brain is still working, because it's kind of like in a chill mode when you're working on something else that's creative. And so while you're chilling, it's still working and solving problems on a cognitive level, right? And so that's a very powerful thing, so that when you come back, it's almost like you're um daydreaming. Well, not almost like, I guess you're kind of daydreaming. And then when you come back to doing whatever it is that you were doing that needs your focus and intention, that those ideas and thought processes and what was happening on a cognitive level, and what you call
Unconscious.
unconscious, that's the word I was looking for, thank you, on an unconscious level, will come to the forefront. And so you're still kind of working while you're not working, so don't feel guilty about taking those breaks, and focusing on something different for a little while, because when you come back, you're refreshed, and you may have some breakthroughs and some ideas that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to touch on it again, because it's such an important thing, that's when the ahas and breakthroughs come, is when we're just in the now. So when we're drawing and we're coloring, we're just in the now. Maybe we're off daydreaming, then we come back in the now. But those constant worry cycles, that gets turned off, right? Like that autopilot of how. You just maybe went and colored and then unconsciously solved the problem and came back with the how, or source, creator of all that is, sent you a divine message and was like, here's how you're going to do it, or here's your next $1 million idea. But we
Mhm.
can never receive those if we're always being a human doing instead of a human being, where we just pause to be
Mhm.
in those creative moments where we get to tap into our own inner juices, instead of being so focused externally. So I wanted to bring that back because I truly believe those creative breaks are where your $1 million ideas are hidden. So love that so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, well, I don't even want to add to what you just said. Everything you said was great. Is like removing that obstruction from the download.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like to say it's clearing mental real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, which leads us into how can we own our own, how owning creativity helps mental wellness. So let's talk a little bit more about how taking those mental breaks also, long term, is important for mental health.
Absolutely. When you think about how um it can help in the now, like you were saying, in the now, for you to take a break, that can relieve stress, calm anxiety, distract the noise. And that is being proactive about your mental health, because there's a difference between mental health and mental illness, right? We
Yeah.
use those words interchangeably, but really it's a spectrum from being like super good to being not so good, like on the other side of the spectrum. And so we really do travel up and down that spectrum in our day-to-day lives. And so when you have an opportunity to proactively say, okay, I need a break now, you don't want to wait until you're on the other side of the spectrum, to start taking care of your mental health, your mental wellness, your mental well-being, and tapping into a way to take like healthy breaks. And so that's how it can really help you be, again, I stress, be proactive about your mental health and your mental well-being, because it helps to just lift the heaviness of the world sometimes and
Mm.
give you that break.
I love that. So that is the proactive part. That's the holistic health. That's the holistic wellness. That's where we go, hey, have I rested enough to show up as my best self? Instead of, have I worked hard enough to deserve a break?
Oh, wow, that's powerful right there. Yeah,
I
like
saw that quote once recently and I was like, that will stay with me forever. And I have to remind myself when we feel like I should be doing something else. I'm
Mhm,
like, wait, but have you rested enough to do that well? No, okay, stay and color another page or have another dance party
mhm,
or meditate for 10 minutes or go have some nephew cuddles or,
mhm.
whatever you need for that mental wellness
And to
break.
not feel guilty about it.
The key right there. Nailed it. Mic drop. Take the break without the guilt.
Without the guilt, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Is
Because
there anything? Yeah, go
the
ahead.
guilt, I was just gonna say, the guilt is counterintuitive. It's counterproductive, right? Because if you're feeling guilty about it while you're trying to take a break, then you're not really taking a break, are you? And
No.
you're not benefiting yourself, and you're not being kind to yourself and showing yourself self-care and self-love.
Yeah. And I think that's really, really important because I know for myself and I know for many other people, when we stop being the human doing and we just be, we're like, oh, I should be, I
Mm,
could be.
mm.
And again, have you rested enough to go and do those well?
Because you are being.
Yeah.
There's no could, should. You are. It's
Yeah.
happening right now.
Yeah. And release the guilt so that you feel refreshed at the end instead of worse because you made yourself bad and wrong all day because you took a creative break.
Right, right.
Yeah, essential. Those two go together. Allow yourself the break and then take it. I love it. Awesome. So, where can they get your coloring books? Where can they learn more about you? And is there anything else you'd like to add today?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot,
Yeah,
and
really good.
the highlights, like the reticular activation system. One of the things that I like to use as an example, what of course what you mentioned is amazing, but when people are looking for a car, like you decide that you want to buy a car, and before you make that decision, you don't see that car anywhere. But after you make that decision that that's the car that you want to look for, you start seeing it everywhere. It's like everybody has that car, and they were always there before, but you're filtering it out. Um, so that's another example that I like to utilize with people and share with people. But my books, other than that, I think we covered it there, Heather.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
then my books are available. You can reach me on social media at Soulful Color. And I do have a website, soulfulcolor.com, and would really they are available on other platforms like Amazon. And if you Google Soulful Color, you'll hit my Google business page. Leave a review.
I love it.
With my ting, with my smile. And then also send me a DM like on soulfulcolor.com. Let me know what you thought about our talk today here with Heather, and I can let you know the best way to get your own copies of our coloring books. And then also we have new coloring books in the works. Like I'm
Love it.
in the lab currently working on two new additions to our series.
I love it. So, guys, get your soulful coloring books. They're inclusive, they're filled with positive affirmations, and they are your drawings, right?
Oh, right? No, I'm not the illustrator. So
No?
that's something else that from a creative standpoint, you don't always have to be the person doing everything, right? So
Love
my
it.
brother's the illustrator.
There,
He
they are custom done. It's your brother.
right.
Love
Yes.
family business.
Yes, they are definitely original illustrations. No,
Original.
no AI, no AI technology. Like we sit
Good.
down and we do a Zoom call every week. And I'm like, okay, bro, show me what you got, and I art direct.
I love it. I love that. That makes it even more special.
Yeah.
So, guys, this is so important to tap into that creativity. Remember, ask yourself, have you rested enough to do your work well? And maybe you need to take a creative break to tap into that inner genius and to hear that inner guidance. So, this is what you want to grab. So, go and grab your soulful coloring book. And thank you so much, Sophia, for being on the show, for doing what you do, for being a light in this world and helping people really tap into their inner selves and into positivity. So, thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I want to add one more thing, and soulful coloring soothes your soul or soothes the soul. That's like to wrap it up.
Yeah, I love it. So, soulful coloring soothes your soul. So, thank you so much. And, guys, remember, expect magic and miracles. Stay happy, healthy, wealthy. And what is the best that can happen? We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.